Hello friends, this is Grief speaking. Today we're looking at 10 disturbing found footage films. I found all of these while doing the found footage Iceberg video a while back, and like all lists, it's pretty subjective, but these were some found footage films that I found to actually be scary and or disturbing. But let's not waste any more time and just get right into the list. These are the 10 most disturbing found footage films I've seen. Alright, let's start off the list with Wreck. Wreck is a Spanish found footage horror film that follows Angela, a television reporter, and her cameraman Pablo, who are covering a routine night shift at a local fire station for a documentary. Their night takes a terrifying turn when they accompany firefighters to an emergency call at a small apartment building in Barcelona. When they get there, they find police and emergency workers attending to an elderly woman who suddenly becomes aggressive and violent. The building's quickly quarantined by authorities, trapping the residents, Angela, and Pablo inside. From there, the situation only escalates, and it becomes clear that a horrifying virus is turning residents into zombie-like creatures. This film is excellent at tension building as a group tries to survive, uncovering a secret in the building's penthouse, which holds the key to the outbreak. This is where the movie takes a slightly supernatural turn, as the virus seems to be connected to demonic possession. It's widely considered one of the best found footage horror films, and I would have to agree. One of the most terrifying scenes in any horror movie to me is the climax of Wreck, which is shot in night vision as Pablo and Angela encounter a long infected and grotesque girl who begins to hunt them down in the penthouse. I'm not trying to spoil the scare here, but I wanted to talk about it because this isn't CGI, it's all practical effects, and thank God, because I think this girl is one of the scariest things I've seen in found footage. The Taking of Deborah Logan. The Taking of Deborah Logan follows Mia, a documentary filmmaker, and her crew who set out to make a film about Alzheimer's disease, focusing on an elderly woman, Deborah Logan, and her daughter Sarah. As they begin filming, Deborah's condition appears to be of typical Alzheimer's, but soon some strange occurrences suggest something weird's going on here. Deborah's behavior becomes increasingly erratic and disturbing, with unexplainable events happening around the house. At the same time, Mia and her team uncover dark secrets from Deborah's past, including a connection to a series of unsolved murders and occult practices. Obviously, making a horror movie around Alzheimer's is hard to do respectfully, but I think that this is a great starting point before it moves into the supernatural stuff. I had to add this one to the list because it's one of the more legitimately scary found footage movies out there in my opinion, and there are some scenes in this that definitely rival the ending of Wreck. Cannibal Holocaust. Cannibal Holocaust released in 1980 and is considered one of the most disturbing films ever made. The plot revolves around a rescue mission into the Amazon rainforest to find a missing documentary film crew who had gone there to make a film about indigenous cannibal tribes. The rescue team discovers the crew's lost footage and brings it back to New York. As executives view the recovered footage, the film shifts to a found footage format, showing the horrific events that befell the crew. The film crew is led by Alan Yates, and while Alan initially seems like just another victim, he's actually a ruthless psycho who often stages the violent events he films. Alan and his crew burn the tribespeople's village and attack one of their women. Later they find the woman impaled on a wooden spike. While it seems as if the tribe did this to the woman, it's heavily implied that Alan actually did this himself in order to get more good footage. I have to say the effects here are very realistic, even by today's standards. So realistic in fact that, like Blair Witch, a lot of people thought it was a real documentary. But unlike Blair Witch, people were so convinced that it was real that the film's director was initially charged with obscenity and later accused of making a snuff film due to rumors that the actors were actually killed on camera. These charges were eventually dropped when the actors themselves showed up as witnesses. That has to be a badge of honor for any horror director, I gotta say. Noroi the Curse. Fans of Japanese horror films may know this one, but it's surprisingly underrated and stands out to me in the found footage genre. A lot of that has to do with the great acting, which makes it really feel like you're watching a documentary. The idea is that a paranormal investigator is making a documentary called The Curse. He ends up disappearing after his house is burned down and his wife is found dead in the ruins. This is all explained in the introduction before the documentary begins to play. It's really well done for such a low budget and has some very disturbing moments, like a boy being beaten in the head with a rock before becoming possessed, a woman setting herself on fire, and several rituals that require human fetuses to complete. One particular scene shows one of the characters surrounded by writhing human fetuses. So yeah, this one's pretty creepy. Lake Mungo. So Lake Mungo unfolds in a documentary style format and revolves around the Palmer family, who are grappling with the drowning death of their daughter Alice. As they mourn, strange events begin to occur, suggesting that Alice's spirit might be haunting their home. The family discovers secret videotapes made by Alice revealing her experiences with supernatural occurrences and a foreboding premonition of her own death. Lake Mungo is one of the more revered found footage films on the chart, and almost everyone considers it highly underrated, not just for some bone-chilling scares, but there is a really really heart-wrenching story underneath it all. It's more of a slow burn with a persistent creepy tone throughout. I wanted to include it mostly because of one particular scene that is absolutely chilling and considered one of the most effective found footage sequences. Be My Cat, a film for Anne. This is one of the strangest on the list. The movie revolves around an aspiring Romanian filmmaker named Adrian who's obsessed with the actress Anne Hathaway. Adrian decides to create a film to convince Hathaway to come to Romania and star in his movie. To do this, he plans to make a low-budget horror film with local actresses, demonstrating how he would direct Hathaway in his dream project. The film documents Adrian's interactions with the actresses he hires as he guides them through various scenarios. However, it quickly becomes apparent that Adrian's intentions are a lot darker than they seem. His obsession with Hathaway and his delusions about his filmmaking project lead him down a path of disturbing and violent behavior. As the project continues, the actresses find themselves in increasingly dangerous situations. It's pretty ballsy to use the name of a real-life actress like that, and the acting is great, with Andre seeming like a true delusional psychopath. I imagine if Anne Hathaway ever actually watched this, she would be pretty disturbed.
I'm gonna cut your throat if you bite that rope, okay? I'm gonna cut your throat, I'm gonna kill you right now.
The Poughkeepsie Tapes. The Poughkeepsie Tapes is presented as a documentary piecing together the crimes of a serial killer known as the Poughkeepsie Killer through a collection of tapes found in an abandoned house in Poughkeepsie, New York. The story is a disturbing chronicle of a killer's decade-long spree, with the tapes revealing his methods of abduction, torture, and murder. The film combines interviews with fictional law enforcement, victims' families, and forensic experts, alongside the footage from the killer's actual tapes. A particularly creepy aspect of the story is the killer's manipulation and prolonged torment of one of his surviving victims, Cheryl Dempsey. We can see her psychological breakdown over the course of the film, showcasing the long-term effects of the killer's actions. While there's a lot of standout scenes in the movie that are really terrifying, it's really the way he interacts with Cheryl that's the most disturbing part to me. The killer often wears masks and strange outfits, and he eventually makes Cheryl wear a mask as well. He makes her call herself slave, and she becomes completely submissive to him. Pretty dark stuff. In fact, the most disturbing scene in this movie to me isn't even a horror scene. After Cheryl is rescued, the film crew interview her, and it's clear that the killer completely broke her independence when she can't even speak for herself.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Talk about what it's like being home again.
I don't know. What do you want me to say?
Shout out to the actress Stacey Chbosky for a great performance here. The film was actually hard to get a hold of when it originally released in 2007, which contributed to the belief that it was actually real. It got a little bit of a resurgence recently through TikTok, and because of that, there are now modern viewers who also thought it was real, which I think is a great compliment to the movie. Megan is Missing. This one also blew up on TikTok in recent years, but was kind of a sleeper hit until then. Megan is Missing follows the story of two teenage girls, Megan Stewart and Amy Herman, who live in North Hollywood. Megan, a popular high school student, meets a boy online and disappears after arranging to meet him in person. Amy, her best friend, then launches her own investigation to find Megan, but she ends up being caught by the same predator. The film is notorious for its extremely graphic and unsettling portrayals of abduction, assault, and violence, and has even been banned in New Zealand. It's structured around video diary footage of the girls and simulated online chats. The film ends with a series of disturbing images and videos that are found on the kidnapper's camera, revealing the horrific fate of both girls. I obviously can't let this one go without mentioning the controversy surrounding the film. It was made on an extremely low budget, and the director had the actresses do some pretty intense stuff, including one of the girls being put in an actual torture device, which apparently traumatized her. There's a lot more to it than that, but we got some more movies to cover. Needless to say, this one is pretty hard to watch. August Underground. The August Underground series is a collection of horror films known for their extreme content and realistic portrayal of serial killers. The series consists of 3 films, each presented in a found footage style, and is notorious for its graphic depictions of violence and torture. August Underground, the first film in the series, released in 2001 and introduces 2 serial killers. The movie's presented as a series of home video recordings made by the killers, documenting their brutal crimes. The footage is raw and very real looking, showing the duo torturing and murdering their victims in graphic detail. The film's realism and lack of conventional narrative structure make it particularly disturbing, because you don't really feel like this is a movie, but rather a showcase of depraved scenarios. I imagine accidentally coming across this on VHS in 2001 must have been cause for concern. In fact, the director and star, Fred Vogel, was held in custody for 10 hours while traveling to a Canadian film festival because they found copies of August Underground in his bag and thought they were actual snuff films. Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment. Staying on the torture theme, Guinea Pig Devil's Experiment is a really disturbing movie. I'm not even sure if you can call it a movie, honestly. It's more like a 43-minute showcase of torture and some amazing special effects. The entire thing is literally just 3 guys torturing a woman in various ways. The opening text of the movie claims, "Several years ago I obtained a private video under the title Guinea Pig. Its commentary said that this is a report of an experiment on the breaking point of bearable pain and corrosion of people's senses. But it was, in fact, an exhibition of devilish cruelty as 3 perpetrators severely abused a woman." And from there we actually get into the movie, if you want to call it that. It's loosely structured around title cards introducing each new act of torture. These range from physical assaults like hitting and kicking to more gruesome acts. I'm not super squeamish, but man, some of the sequences in this movie I was basically watching through my fingers. The effects here are incredible and look very realistic. The movie, along with much of the other Guinea Pig series, kind of strikes a bit of a debate as to what is considered a real film and what level of depravity should be accepted as art. It's a tough one for me because on one hand, I didn't enjoy watching this and wouldn't recommend anyone else really does. It doesn't feel like a movie, but more of an experiment in video. That being said, I can't help but respect the special effects here because they are insanely good, especially for a low budget project like this. Well, I hope you guys liked the list. It was pretty hard to narrow it down, but let me know if you think I missed something and maybe I'll do a follow-up video at some point. Thanks again to all of my subscribers. We're coming up on 30,000 subs, which is insane, so thank you so much. Also, thanks for holding in there. I know my content's been on kind of a slow drip, but I'm putting some cool stuff together and I'm going to be coming back hard here in the next month or so. Big shout out to my patrons, Naomi Romero, Soma, Krusty the Crab, One Group, Laz Wishgender, Hunter Piva, Heather M, Creepy Pasta Cube, A Slightly Bigger Ann, Ricky Shadow, Strong Kohi, Matt Rozak, Steamboat Millie, The Beast Llama, Holy Ears, Nat 007, Andrew Valencia, Ursa, and Michelle Bracey. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the support. If you want a shout out like that at the end of every video, as well as bonus content, consider becoming a patron. The link's below. But I appreciate you guys watching at all, so thank you. This is Grief speaking. Goodbye, friends.